they get the chance. They were born in bloody circumstance. To go, leave me, run like you've never run before. A voice from the underground, given room to breathe, not but be drowned. So die if you get the chance. Better men than you've been left to stand. To go, leave me, run like you've never run before. I have seen the worst, and there is nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me away. To go, leave me, run like you never did. No, believe me, run like you've never run before.
And I managed to do it without messing it up. Yay. Hello. Welcome to the Scottish Rugby podcast, brought to you by the Scottish Rugby blog. Tonight, as you will see, we have no leader in the chair. Our Cammy is not with us tonight, so he has passed on the responsibility to vice captain myself, John Anderson. We're quite short of numbers tonight, Craig. It's almost like, you know, it's a cold winter's night and nobody can be bothered turning up to training.
It definitely is. It has a smacking of rugby here. I must say, a rugby club. A feeling for it, definitely. It's been left to the follically challenged to deal with tonight.
I mean, that genuinely could describe most of us, let's be fair.
That is very true.
You know, what was it? Cammy and the Follically Challenged 3 was the name of the band we thought we were going to start. But yes, so welcome everyone joining us tonight. We'll take a whistle-stop tour through some of the comings and goings of Scottish Rugby this week and maybe have a wee think about the upcoming Six Nations match at the weekend. Obviously, you can find us on all the usual podcast sites. This goes out as a podcast tomorrow. You'll find us on all your usual places, Acast, etc., etc., etc. Cammy always tells you, please leave some positive reviews. We love a positive review, but also apparently it helps with algorithms. So leave us some nice wee reviews. We would be most grateful if you could do that. We also have a Patreon account, so if you cannot get enough of this quality patter and you want to support the podcast a wee bit more, you can head over to patreon.com/Scottish Rugby. You'll see the details down here. I'll change the banner. There it is. There, it's just coming along the banner just now. If you're listening in audio, that will make no sense to you, but you'll just have to deal. Patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast, where you can subscribe and get exclusive content, including our weekly Hands in the Ruck, which may include certain numbers of swearies. I'm sure there'll be plenty for me and Craig to get our teeth into tonight. You also get access to our super secret Facebook page where you get to submit content for us to have some good fun and call out on the pod. But yes, away from the sales pitch tonight, Craig, we're going to start with. So I managed to rattle through that sales pitch quite quickly.
You've done very well.
So the credits is like 3 minutes, and then I'm getting better at it. It's because we don't have any sponsors to have to plug. So if anybody does want to sponsor us, two follically challenged gentlemen, please, you know where we are.
It looks like for those that aren't watching online, it looks like someone has given me a certain brand of head polish tonight because the light is shining off my dome quite easily tonight.
You are getting, there is a definite, like, I'm not going to lie, Craig, it looks a little bit like you've got a bit of a halo, and we know that's not true. So,
well, to be perfectly honest, you never know with my my fellow cult members. I may be ascending to a certain area.
You've paid to get up to the next tier, so you get a halo.
Well, it depends if they've paid enough for me to go up to the.
Exactly. Right, so let's crack on with the news. So first things, let's talk internationally. We'll come to the club game in a wee minute. Internationally, the attritional nature of the Six Nations has saw Gregor Townsend has added 6 new players to the Six Nations squad to take on France, whilst a few have dropped out. Second rows in particular, Johnny Gray and Scott Cummings, both out injured, so they've dropped out the squad. Cameron Redpath, injured yet again.
Yeah.
Surely not. Please not. Come on. we got like 20 minutes out of him. So fingers crossed. I don't know. Have you heard anything on Redpath's injury?
I've heard nothing on him at the moment. I'm hoping it's just they've returned to their clubs. So I don't know if I'm hoping it's nothing major. And we haven't seen any pictures of him with I'm doing fine in a hospital or anything like that. So obviously, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's just a minor thing.
Well, that is the wonder of social media, isn't it? Because obviously with players, obviously we saw that with Jamie Ritchie recently as well. It is kind of the indicator that yes, I'm going to be not playing rugby for a wee while when you get the hospital picture. We've also had Rory Sutherland is out of the Six Nations. I believe broken rib was the suggestion. Which, having broken a rib, it is not terribly comfortable.
It's certainly not something I want someone to be rattling into with their shoulder at the next game.
Yes.
I think I'd be quite happy to take some break time.
Yes, I think that's a sensible course of action. And then, no mention of injury, but I'm going to pull this up just because we know my views. Having Sebastian has also dropped out of the squad.
And I'm gutted. Where I was hoping. Well, he's had his one cap, so he is going to join Daryl Marfo in the front row, the Toonies front row collection of single or double caps.
The echelons of one-hit wonders. Although Marfo did get 2 caps.
Yeah, and he did very well as well.
That was the thing. He was absolutely outstanding in that autumn series. Having Sebastian, on the other hand,
we've not seen enough of him. Yeah, we've not seen enough of him, really.
Well, and that's the thing. I think we always talk about players getting their opportunity. When you can't get a game for air when you're in Scotland, then you probably shouldn't be getting a game for the Scottish national team. Probably.
Yes, it's difficult. It's also difficult for the guy because I think he's even third choice for Scarlets at the moment. So
he's very rarely on their bench as well. So again, just a very I've said that a few times. It's a strange. It is. It's a very odd one.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's winging his way back to the Scarlets to go and, well, not bench warm for them. Maybe
Well,
they
I hope he's all right anyway.
Aye, I hope so. So the call-ups. So those are the injured few plus having. Let's talk about the call-ups. So, we have. Well,
have you got trumpets? Have you got some trumpets to play for the arrival of Ollie Gable?
Sadly not. But I do like Ollie. So Ollie's thing on. So obviously you'll know yourself as well, Craig. The guys all do their little picture thing at the start of the season, and they show it when they score a try or kick a conversion or get player of the match and all that sort of thing. And Glasgow do this it's CubeNet sponsor it, and it's like Defender of the Week. And Ollie Kebble got it this week, and it's just Ollie, and he's just doing the shark fin. And I'm all in, Ollie. You are my god, Ollie Kebble. But first of all, Josh Bayliss is back. He's he never left the squad, but he's available. He missed England and Wales games, but Josh Bayliss is available.
What a try at the weekend from him, by the way.
Right?
What a try. A step and a half. I've never seen a second row or a back row step like that in my puff before, apart from maybe Mish, but my goodness. Amazing.
That's the thing. Like, if a Darcy Graham does that, everybody in their dug is going, what? Yeah, amazing. Great footwork. And, again, just shows like the versatility of that back row that Scotland have. I think they have got lots of different options, and it will be really, obviously we'll preview the France game later on, but it'll be really interesting to see what the mix is.
Yeah.
As you've said, big Ollie, giving them the shark fin. Ollie's back, finally, gets his way into the squad. I don't know if it's to replace Rory Sutherland or having Sebastian or both.
Well, I heard Tom English on today's BBC podcast, Rugby BBC podcast,
Yep.
and he mentioned something about there's some talk going around about Xander Fagerson.
Right, as in
may not be available for the weekend.
As in injury or as in?
Well, he didn't say. He just said there was talk about Xander Fagerson.
Did Xander have 4 beers? Is this the issue?
I think he may have just decided to go rogue Finn on us, and do you know who I am? I'm a Lions prop. No, I honestly do. By the way, this is just something I listened to today. I was out walking the dogs and I stuck it on, and Tom English had said there's talk of Xander Fagerson, so that it's absolutely, I might be, and I'm hoping to be absolutely proven wrong.
Yeah, I mean that would be deeply concerning coming up against France with Nell plus Kebble.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, that started the podcast off on a really good note. Let's continue this.
Okay. I think I've been corrected, so it's fine. I've been corrected.
Is he okay? Is there a comment popped in? There's
a comment popped in.
Oh, I was talking about Matt, not Xander.
Yeah. So fingers crossed that's correct.
Yes, and as Brodie has rightly said, Simon Bergen has been called up as the replacement for having Sebastian. I'm not entirely convinced by that either, but hey ho, that's fine. Marshall Sykes and James Lang. Jamie Lang's a different thing altogether. James Lang played very well at the weekend, and we'll talk about that when we come to Edinburgh. So good to see him in. And then Ollie Smith and Kieran McDonald are added as well. Now, for me, this kind of strikes me as a very Townsend thing to do, where you bring players into the setup just to have a look at them. Guys like Ollie Smith. Ollie Smith's not ready for international rugby. Like, he's played 3 games for Glasgow. But I think it's really... And he's been playing very well, but it is one of those ones, I think, just getting him in. And he will play for Scotland in the future, but almost just having a look at him.
Yeah, he's a 15 for Glasgow, yeah?
So 13, I think he's a better 13 than fullback, but
Right.
he's played both. He played okay at 15. He has looked okay. He certainly, from what I've seen, he's bulked up a lot from last year he didn't get many opportunities, and he seems to have really hit the strength and conditioning. And he definitely, for me, physically looks more suited to 13 than 15 now. It was quite stark actually when he ran on. I was like, is that the same wee boy that we saw last season? Because he's a lot bigger, but yeah, he seems to play both very comfortably. So again, that versatility, the Townsend ethos of, basically, I think he's going to call Richie Vernon out of retirement.
Well, we're all damned if we're doomed. I should say we're doomed.
Doomed? No,
doomed.
Everyone else is doomed. King Richie will return.
But listen, Wales. That's what Wales are doing. They're dragging all these dinosaurs out of retirement to try and cover for injuries and things like that. And I suppose it worked for them last weekend, but or the weekend before. But
Well, we may come to dinosaurs at some point tonight. I think that might be a topic of conversation for the Patreon special later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so probably segues quite nicely. And actually, obviously, Kieran McDonald, as I said, has been called up to the squads. Probably again, real shortage of second rows, and him and Marshall Sykes will be, definitely bench option there. And one of the Skinner wasn't great in the back row, but certainly you would think from probably Gilchrist and Skinner. My only concern there is you've got two similar players in the sense that they're not, I always like a balance in the second row where you've got to go like a workhorse back row, and then you've got a Stockings.
So here we go. It's now going to be left to me to try and run through this because I'm thinking, is your Wi-Fi starting to panic me a little bit there, John?
It started there,
The blood drained from my face for a second. But yeah, I think if you look at, Marshall Sykes is very much a Sam Skinner style. One of my dogs has just decided to come in and force his way in the door. Marshall Sykes is very much a Skinner based, size and attitude player. You've got your Kieran McDonald is very much, I would say, very similar to Grant Gilchrist, and I think it just seems I think you've got. This is going to sound really bad towards Grant Gilchrist. It's not, but Skinner and Sykes have real niggle to them. They're strong in the contact. They want to win the ball all the time as much as they can. So there may be that. And then you've got McDonald and Grant Gilchrist, who I think are very workmanlike, will run the line out well, and maybe aren't as dynamic around the park as the other two. But I think you'll find with those four, you can slot them in either or, and there won't be a major issue.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. The news though is that Kieran McDonald is off ski. He is off to join Wasps at the end of the season. So that was announced today. 27-year-old. He's made just shy of 50 appearances for Glasgow. Made his debut in 2016. He's always been a player that I've always liked him as a player. He's been unlucky with injuries, but I mean, going a team like Wasps is a big move for him, and I think he'll do well down there. His type of play is quite Premiership like. You can see a guy like him doing all right in the Premiership.
Well, we just need to look at a couple of players that have gone down there, a couple of second rowers that have gone down there. For example, Tim Swinson, who was retired and seems to have got a second rugby life. The other one that snuck in there was Callum Hunter-Hill, who left Edinburgh on loan to Saracens and is regularly in the first team for Saracens and is doing a very, very good job. Looks a different player, actually. So I think I definitely think, you look at Johnny Gray, went to Exeter and seems to have he's developed his game a little bit more. So I think if Kieran McDonald's going to become a Scotland cap, or has he got a Scotland cap already? No.
I think he's uncapped.
Uncapped. So if he's going to be not the future of our second row, but he's going to be a Scotland second row option for future, then going down to Wasps isn't going to harm him. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And then moving across to your neck of the woods, Craig. So this will give you an opportunity to talk at length, and you'll be pleased to know I've done my Edinburgh research today instead of saying, has there been any other news? So Edinburgh have, oh my goodness, right, the site I'm on has about 1 billion pop-ups for this, right? Stop it. Right, there we go. So Edinburgh have re-signed Angus Williams and Harrison Courtney.
Yeah.
I'm saying that right? Yep. So they're both re-signed for next season. Both Super 6 players, originally aligned to Watsonians, both Scots qualified. Williams, age 28. He's joined on a full-time contract as opposed to a partnership contract, which he was on previously. And Courtney has re-signed, and he's staying on a partnership deal with Watsonians. So, I mean, I guess over to you, Craig. I know very little about these two.
I've not seen a huge amount of them myself. I've obviously seen a couple of games they've played in. They've come on to the field. I think it was Williams that showed a little bit of nervousness for his first game, but actually then got stuck in and was worked well. They're both Kiwis and are both Kiwi born, but they're I think it's Williams. Has got a mum who's Glasgow born, and then it's Edinburgh born mother actually, and Courtney's grandfather is for Dundee. So. There we go. We've got two Scots qualified props. Who says that we've got a prop problem in Scotland? They're both good workhorses. They're going to get, as long as they get enough game time, and as long as they get the ability to develop, then I think it's a good move. My biggest worry, and I'm always worried about this side of things, is when we bring players through from the Super 6 or we bring project players in, or we bring players into that hopefully have a future within the Scotland setup, and they come in, they don't get very much game time, and then they're gone. They've signed for someone else, and they're away down to London Irish, or they're away, away back to Super 6 or whatever it is. So I hope they get a good chance. I hope they get the opportunity to do the job.
Yeah, I mean, it's always disappointing when you develop these players and then they do pop off elsewhere. And I do apologise if my Wi-Fi drops out because it's warning me it might, Craig. So you might need to fill here.
Yeah, I will talk about Edinburgh at length, about Blair Kinghorn and Magnus Bradbury. Don't you worry about
that. Well, let's move on to the URC then. Edinburgh at the weekend, another loss, Craig.
Don't look so happy about it, John. Actually, to be perfectly honest, although I was disappointed on the night, and I think Edinburgh, especially the last two games they've played, they can look at themselves and say, if we knock the penalties and we knock the mistakes on the head, we could do a good job. And I actually think I'm going to say this, and poor old, that'll take a shine off poor old Simon Zebo's hat trick, but I actually think we could have won that game. There was the gameplay that we had. There was just too many mistakes, too many, and the penalties weren't great either. So, in a game that Henry Purgos gets a try for a snipe, it was like, what? He's cut his hair and got rid of his, I don't know if he's still got his stupid moustache, but I think he's grown into a beard now. And actually, he's looking a different player. So, I really, and we forget that Edinburgh, we laugh and had some chat on the podcast chat group, and Johnny was very mouthy about. So were you actually, John? I've noted
I probably was, yeah.
And for me, it was, we forget that this is Mike Blair's first season. We're developing as a team, and just because we were sitting top of the URC, we're sitting at the top of the URC because of good gameplay. People not realising what Edinburgh have become, right now under Mike Blair and how he's intending to play. But again, this is a development time for him, and so maybe we got a little bit too ahead of ourselves. I don't know, but we'll wait and see, because I actually think if we can if we can get back our Scotland players, and we get a chance to have a go at some of those teams again, I think there could be a different score.
I would completely agree, Craig, and I would actually go a step further to say that I think you could have won both matches, even though Leinster convincingly avenged. Score wise, it was convincing. Edinburgh had chances, and like a couple of those, you convert a couple of those, it's a different game. And yeah, we have a laugh and a joke in the group chat and stuff like that. But I think there is real progress from Edinburgh's perspective, and I think where you are now in the table. I'm not saying right, we'll come to Glasgow in a minute, right? But
yeah.
I think where you guys are on the table just now is probably quite reflective of where you should be. Like fifth feels about right, given how good you've been at the start of the season, the teams you've got to play. I think if you end the season fifth, that's a great result for you. I don't think much higher than that. I don't think much lower than that. I think that is about right. And certainly, I know you were quite vocal actually at the time around when we were kind of maybe taking the proverbial a wee bit about, well, you've still got to play Leinster, you've still got to play Munster, etc. But you were quite vocal at the time to say, yeah, no, that is absolutely the case, and let's see how that goes. But you've put up a good show, and as you say, with Scotland internationals back, it would have been a different game. Put it that way.
Well, definitely the last time we went to Munster, away to Munster, we came back with our tails between our legs, and we had the head coach basically saying, "Well, what do you expect? I played a load of young lads," and we came back this time going, we could have won that.
And it was the same situation. You had a young team out there. There was a lot of young players out there.
Yeah. And I think for me, I think if you look at it, and there's been a lot said on social media about Blair Kinghorn and things like that. But if you look at the players that we have now in place, Immelman was worrying me when I first saw him, because he's for a fullback, his kicks from hand weren't looking that great, but actually settled into it. And so we've got a fairly strong fullback in Immelman. We've got two Argentinian wingers who, first of all are lethal, and second of all, we've got one of them who can put over a high percentage of his kicks. We've got Blair Kinghorn, who is on a development path for a 10. We've got Lang inside him, who looked very sharp on the weekend. We've got a couple of scrum halves who are coming through in the same mould, and we've got another scrum half who, whether he's going to stay on as an elder statesman and guide the other scrum halves, or what's going to happen with Henry Purgos, he looks like he's a different player. Although he's still slow, but he's slow in a controlled. He's a Greek Laidlaw slow now, rather than just a slow player.
Just slow.
Yeah, exactly. So there's and we've got a forward pack that. And this is one thing I'll say for Cockers. He knew how to build a forward pack, and we've got a forward pack that no matter who you put in on the day, we've got the ability to turn over teams. So, and the last thing I want to say is defence. Now, okay, fair enough. We've leaked a few tries over the last, but we're up against quality teams. But our defence, I would take this defence every day and twice on Sundays 2 years ago. So on my side of things, I think we've seen a large change already, and I'm quite excited about the future.
I mean, I totally agree. I think it should be. So I watched the Edinburgh game back, and the one guy in the back she didn't actually mention, Mark Bennett. Again, it looks like a player reborn again this season. Just that there's no substitute for that pure pace and that step, and just love watching him play. Really impressed with the boy Muncaster as well. I thought he had a fantastic game. Again, just showing what you're looking for in a kind of abrasive back row. You want someone just to go and smash people, and he done that in spades. So I was very impressed.
It's an exciting time. I think we also we've got players that are coming through, youth players that are coming through. Like for example, Cammy Hutchison, for example, who is it Cammy Hutchison or Hutchison? I think who looks incredibly strong at 12. And then my only view, if you're going to ask me about if you ever ask me about a regret, I really regret not keeping Matt Scott.
That
would have been a real big loss to us.
Big loss. He's again, like obviously I've had my words about Matt Scott at an international level. I think Matt Scott at club level, he is the ideal player for Edinburgh, for Glasgow, for the clubs down south. I think he's a brilliant club player. He's the sort of guy you can rely on week in, week out to deliver quality at club level. Internationally, I think his defence gets found out, and that's why people always go on about every time a squad gets announced, where's Matt Scott? Where's Matt Scott? Why is he not getting his shot? He doesn't get his shot because defensively it just isn't. He's not far off, but he's just not at that level that the other guys are at. But club level, I think a huge loss for you. And again, how much of that?
Sorry. No, it's just that in this new style of Edinburgh, we talked about it ages ago on the pod when I first came on the pod. My ideal centre partnership was Mark Bennett and Matt Scott. They were phenomenal for a season.
Electric.
Yeah, and that was a Cocker season as well. With his gameplay. So and this, it's just something that we don't have it, so we can't really talk about it much. But
you throw in a 10 that can actually distribute, into that mix, because again, obviously during the Cockers era, you were yakking, and he's got his talents, but setting a centre partnership alight is not one of them. Blair Kinghorn is very good at, and we saw it at the weekend as well. I noted it as I was watching it. I thought Craig is going to enjoy that, because there was a particular moment where he just breaks that first tackle, ball round the back, flicks it round. Ideal. That to me is the sort of 10 you want. If he's going to play 10, that's the style. I don't really need him firing 30-yard passes off either hand. Actually, I want him running at people and committing defenders. It's a different style of 10, but it's effective. So, batter in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything more you want to say on your boys before we head? We take our proverbial Scottish Rugby bus and head the other side.
No, I think we've talked. Well, I've definitely talked a lot about them. So yeah.
Good. Have I given you enough time? I haven't talked over you.
I've talked over you a couple of times already, so I'll shut up now.
So we'll be getting angry letters again. To be very clear to anyone listening, we had some feedback. Craig got some idiot criticised Craig saying that he wouldn't let me speak, which everyone knows that's actually a great idea. But
when it comes to Edinburgh, it's a great idea to stop you speaking. That's for sure.
Pretty much, yeah. But just to be clear, me and Craig, we are good chums. We are fine. Don't you worry, guys. So disappointing defeat for Edinburgh, down to 5th in the table. But again, lots of hope, lots of promise. Let's see where things pan out. I think that's going to be. I reckon you will finish 5th. That's my prediction now. And I see that the boss is checking in on us.
Yeah, he is. I just noticed that as well. No, I think. Here we go.
Just checking in. Delighted to see you're still talking to each other. Oh, thanks, Cam. Yeah,
it's nice of you. Nice of you to check in, Dad. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you could be on helping us out, but whatever.
The question is who's the babysitter and who's the child getting looked after. That's the question.
Right. So before you joined the podcast, Craig, you know fine well that when I was in charge, things went pear-shaped. So you're on babysitting duty tonight, mate. So moving across the ME over to Scotstoun, Glasgow. Very a stodgy victory would be a kind way of putting it against Benetton. There's not much to say about it, really. It was Glasgow's season for me in a nutshell. It was error-strewn. It was ill-disciplined. There was a couple of moments of brilliance that got the win. But other than that, like a lot of people, and I keep an eye on quite a lot of the forums and things like that, and a lot of people were saying, maybe disrespectfully to Benetton, it's a point lost to not get a bonus point there. Those people, to me, didn't see the conditions because it was utterly horrendous weather.
The weather played into Benetton's hands, to be perfectly honest. In my mind, if you look at, if we're talking about Zebre, yes, it's a point lost against Zebre, but against Benetton, a lot of people, we get the same thing with Italy in the Six Nations. Benetton are not to be messed with and not to be taken for granted, because they will bite you back at some point. And both of us, both Edinburgh and Glasgow, have been bitten back by Benetton at home. And they for me, they've got the forward pack that will do a Wales to Scotland, and that is grind you down and make you make your mistakes.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like we always talk about mistakes in these kind of games, and it's almost like, is it mistakes or is it the opposition, as you say, just grinding you down, use the conditions effectively? It's a difficult one. I think Glasgow fans, a lot of sensible Glasgow fans, have just said, you know what, 4 points in the bag, we move on. Conditions were not ideal. Probably the standout. So we had a debut. Oh well, a kind of debut, a first start for the lesser spotted Diego Miotti at 10, who, he kind of looked better than Duncan Weir, so that was enough for me.
Yeah. I guess for me, for me, when Ross Thompson came on, you saw a difference.
Aye.
So that don't get me wrong, the guy, this is his first start, and it was in the pouring rain and the wind, and he was probably sitting thinking to himself, why have I signed up for coming here? But I'm not going to write him off just yet.
No, I think that's absolutely fair. I guess, yeah, you're absolutely right. The step up, and it probably shows how far Ross Thompson's come in just under 2 seasons, that, you know, he is substantially more experienced and composed than a guy who's got 16 caps for Argentina.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, like, it's a hard one. Like, I think, you know, Glasgow's discipline let them down again. But Ollie Smith, as you said, playing 15 this time, he was probably the standout player for Glasgow. Back row was quiet. George Horn again. It was one of those ones, like, I thought I saw Horn like last week against Munster and thought Horner's back. This is Hornito has returned, but again it was subdued. Lots of niggle, lots of kind of moaning about things. He strikes me as a guy, and I know obviously you've got a personal connection to the club, so you know you'll have your view on it. He strikes me as a guy who's not happy in his rugby just now, and I really think a change would suit him. Yeah,
and this is got. I have not talked to George. I've not spoken to him for some time, so I'm not going to. I'm saying this, and one of Facebook users has mentioned it as well in the comments, and I've said it before. But this is not coming from George Horn, so anyone that's listening from Glasgow, the SRU, that he has not spoken to me about it at all. But he needs to move. He's just, I think he needs someone to turn around and say, put their arm around him and say, you're on 9, come on, let's go. You're going to help shape this team and move this team forward. And I don't think he's getting that anymore from Glasgow. And he needs to move. I think he. And I honestly, if he re-signs again for Glasgow, it's his own bloody fault.
I agree. Yep.
You know, but I think he needs to move. He's just, I really, I like him a lot. I think I remember the first time I saw him on the TV. I think it was under 20 Scotland, and he joined, or was it Glasgow when he joined them all, and he was shoving. You know, and anyway, this is me tirading about George, but
dragging people out the mall and like it was absolutely going. Yeah, that's the George Horn that we want to see.
Yeah, because he'll win you a game.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, 100%. And he doesn't look like right now he's going to win you a game.
So the only other thing to note from the Glasgow game probably was that Rufus McLean, as talented and magnificent a winger as he is, cannot score a try with his face.
That poor lad. That is going to be a gif. It may end up being. I don't know what an NFT is, but it's going to end up as one of them as well. And it's just the poor lad. It's going to be replayed on Sky's funniest rugby moments. The poor lad, because he got up and he had the proper red marks all down his face from a bit of the old 4G burn as well. What, you know, did he end up going off for an HIA as well?
That's a good question, actually.
Because it's my missus was watching him and she went, he's taking a fair bang there. And,
it was a fair done off the turf he gave. But yeah, no. Total gutter. It's yeah. I mean, I would say we've all been there, Craig, but you know, we've been considered to be of the lesser try scoring variety of rugby players in our time. So
I'd have to stretch my hammies off a little bit to get close to the way
no. Well, that's it. You know, exactly. To coin an Alex Ferguson, or was it? Well, it was Walter Smith actually, who said, you know, talking about, I think it was Ali McCoist at the time. It's like, I don't care how many he misses because he's in the right positions. And one will go in at some point. So, Rufus, you keep doing you, son. Keep sliding in with your face. You'll be fine.
He's definitely going to be in Glasgow being called Heed the Ball. That's for sure.
Heed the Ball. Oh, no. So let's move on then. Because obviously this is great because we segue beautifully here. Because Rufus is, of course, in the Scotland setup.
Yep.
Upcoming fixture at the weekend against France. I read the BBC's article on this earlier on, and genuinely I thought, based on that, there is literally no point in Scotland turning up. We should just literally give them the 5 points and save ourselves, because clearly France are the best team that have ever played rugby in the history of rugby, according to that article.
Yes. And the problem I have is that I agree with a lot of it, because France are playing some phenomenal rugby at this moment in time.
Yep.
The problem we have, and the problem that everyone gets suckered into, and they've said it twice before, when we went to France and when France came to us, France are going to win this. They're going to win the grand. They're going to win the championship. They're going to, because this is the France that's going to go to the World Cup and win the World Cup. France still have an issue with losing themselves somehow.
Agreed.
And no matter what, everyone keeps going, oh, that's just typical. That's a lazy comment, because France are, France are far better than the days where they were almost Scotland, having a mercurial player here that's going to score them lots of points and then they're going to mess it up. It's bollocks. Sorry, I shouldn't say that on the open until the Patreons. But yeah, I think for us, I think we've got a good chance of overturning them this weekend, but we also have a very, very good chance of everyone going, well, see, told you so, because France will be brilliant. You just don't know.
I think that's fair. Apologies if I might be in and out. So, may need to. Yes, France are. They have the potential to blow any team in the world off the park.
Yeah.
But they also have the potential to absolutely implode. And I've been saying this. There is that part of their game. Thinking about the Entimac moment, right, against the All Blacks, that's what everybody goes back to, going, this is French rugby at its absolute best. The guy has literally done any other. You do that on a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon, and your coach will punch you in the face because it is mental. You talk about percentage plays, right? 99 times out of 100. He gets smashed, they get turned over, they concede a try. The fact it came off, great. Amazing rugby, and great to have that confidence. But it is flying by the seat of your pants rugby. And that, as we know, has great potential to go horribly wrong. So it's weird, because we're playing probably the best team in the world just now, but I think we're going to win.
Yeah, I don't want to get too. I got too ahead of myself at the beginning of the season, so at the beginning of the Six Nations, so I have to be careful here. Well, it'll be interesting, because I'll be clunking off I've been on the wagon for the last 2 months, and I'm clunking off it this weekend because I'm going to Murrayfield. But I think for me, I'm really looking forward to the game, because I really think we're going to see some phenomenal rugby, whichever way it goes. But I really, we've got Finn Russell, and I think he'll be back on his game this weekend, because he's up against old foes and current foes, and he knows what he's going to do. And then on the other side of things, I think we just have to be careful with getting bullied around the park by the French forwards. That's my only concern.
Yeah. So, are we going to win? Basically, are we win?
For me, I would count on us winning. Yes, I'd like to put it
comfortably.
Sorry?
Are we going to win comfortably?
I think we're going to squeak it by 3 points.
Oh, that's the optimism we like. Are we...
What do you think?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think I think it could be more comfortable than 3 points, but I think it will be a tight game. I think France will be favourites. The weather's going to play a part again.
Yeah.
Actually, in this instance, I think the weather suits us as opposed to France. So yeah, let's see. But I'm going to go Scotland by 5.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, it's not that much of an extra couple of points, it's not that.
I know.
I think we do. I think we've talked about this before, and I got fairly riled up about it at the beginning of this, at the beginning of the Six Nations. We have to prove ourselves. We have to. This is our time.
Yep.
And if we, and okay, fair enough. We are going up against a juggernaut, not only in size and playing ability, but also as favourites and as the hype train, the French hype train continues. They will have their tails up. And they have some phenomenal players there. So some real make a difference players. But we're at home. They don't like coming to Scotland. We've got a phenomenal fan base that absolutely lift you up in the stadium. So there's a good chance.
There's a good chance, and that's that for a Scotland team to be saying that against, as we've said, probably the best team in the world. That's progress.
Absolutely.
Even given what happened in Wales. So
I'm hoping Wales was an anomaly.
We've talked that to death. So Wales in true sportsman, moving on from defeat. That is that. And we focus on now. So yeah, I mean the plan this week. We do our only Finns preview pods, where once the team gets announced, we would look to do a wee podcast just to talk about the game in a bit more depth. So we'll not overdo it on here, because we have on occasion went down the route of predicting teams, and promptly within almost by the time someone has downloaded the audio podcast, the team is out and we are out of date. I think the other thing to note, and I noticed this stat the other day, France haven't won the Six Nations. If they don't win it this year, I think it'll be 12 years. That is surprising.
I think it's I think with but again we go back to, and it's again I'm going to use this lazy or people say it's a lazy point about the French. We are in a situation where they build a head of steam and then absolutely throw it away.
Aye.
And it's how many times have we watched them in the World Cup or watched them in the Six Nations where they've punched someone, elbowed someone, not knowing when the clock's about to run, going to the red, got confused about how many points they need to win the championship, all these different things, and imploded. And I think that's where I'm hoping, Galti, is it Galti, their coach?
Galti is the coach, yep.
Yeah, he seems to have his head screwed on, even though he's got the most fabulous glasses in the world.
Yeah, I mean, when I get my next pair of glasses, I'm getting a pair of those.
They are fabulous. Yeah, absolutely. And obviously they're bringing, Sean Edwards brings them a ferociousness that maybe they've been lacking. So we'll wait and see. But I think the stars are aligning. I think if France are going to do something, you'll see them win the Six Nations next year, and they'll go on to win, get into the final of the World Cup, and then it's up to them. But I don't think they're there yet.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think season too early, and I think it will it'll be peaking next season, all coming together at the right time. So, but let's wait and see. As you'll see tonight, those of you who are listening on audio, you'll not be able to see this, but I am sporting an Italian rugby top tonight in solidarity with our Italian friends, who yet again, we'll just touch on this before the end, and we might come back to it in Hands of the Ruck, Craig. Italy again. The Daily Fail put out a horrendously clickbait article regarding South Africa replacing Italy in the Six Nations. people seem to just forget that Italy actually part own the Six Nations.
Yeah.
So they're not going to vote to leave.
They really aren't. And also, you know, the basic bottom line, and you know, we have to talk about this, in the fact that if we did it, if it happened, you are killing Italian rugby.
Aye, stone dead.
Stone dead. And there have been people have invested their time, their money, and their lives into Italian rugby over the last 20 years, and you will kill it.
Yep.
And I honestly don't see it happening. I don't think it should happen. And if the South Africans have fallen out with Sansa and have thrown the toys out the pram with all of that, why do we want them to come here and throw their toys around? You know.
Well, it's but $1 in it, but then I would then strongly. I mean, it's funny because people were talking actually about I saw. It was one of those I'm not even going to dignify them with naming them, but one of the clickbait rugby sites that we all know and despise put out wouldn't it be great if the team that finished 6th in the Six Nations played the team that won the Euro Championships in a two-legged match to see promotion and relegation from the Six Nations.
Mm.
And it's like every time we do this, right? So Italy have played Georgia and absolutely thumped Georgia a number of times. The gap is massive, right? So you either say Six Nations, the Six Nations is staying as it is. Italy are not going anywhere, right? Yes, they are behind the other sides, but then Scotland were miles behind the other four, and the gap now is much closer. Things change. Progress is made, right? That will happen. I think if South Africa joined, you're then looking at probably another country joining as well to then bring it up to 8. And then that becomes it's like a mini World Cup at that point. So let's see what happens. But South African money, you know, they've managed to wriggle their way into the URC. I think the direction of travel is clearly they want them in the Six Nations, 7 Nations, 8 Nations. I mean, 7 Nations would be quite good, and then we can get the White Stripes to just do the theme for it, and that'll be us sorted.
The thing is, the problem you have though is that especially with what you just mentioned, the promotion and relegation, you know, and again, you know, I'll quote him because I really like what he says. I think he's a fabulous journalist and a great writer. But Tom English again said this yesterday or today. England had they've had a couple of really bad Six Nations and have been 5th quite a few times. And all you need is England to come last, Italy to build up, England to come last, and then have a bad game.
Aye.
Is that going to happen? Are they going to let that happen?
Of course.
So why are we talking about them and us, or why are we talking about England? You know, Italy should be thrown out, or they should play this relegation game, or whatever they play. But it won't happen for us. You know, so if they want to do something like that, that's fine, but they have to accept the consequences.
If you think for a second that the television companies that are invested and CVC who are invested in the Six Nations are going to allow France, who finished 5th, Ireland have finished 5th, England have finished 5th, Wales have had the wooden spoon in the past. If you think for a second they're going to let them get relegated and removed, given that the TV deals are signed years in advance, you're clearly delusional. So you're absolutely right. It should not be, and it won't be one rule for them and one rule for us, because Italy are 1/6 shareholder within this company, so it's not going to happen. The only way that South Africa join the Six Nations is if it becomes 7 or more, and then we get to make more jokes about numbers. So that is good fun. But I think that shall do us for the regular.
Can I mention one wee thing? Sorry.
Please.
Scotland women take on Colombia tomorrow in Dubai for their World Cup qualifier.
It's tomorrow, isn't it? Yes.
It is tomorrow.
I was trying to find out when it was. Sorry.
So it's been Colombia. Colombia have dispatched Kazakhstan. So it is Scotland v. Is it Colombia? I'm sure it's Colombia. So just big ups to them and good luck and from all of us at the Scottish Rugby Podcast. And I hope it's a great game.
Fingers crossed. 80 minutes away from a World Cup. That would be an incredible achievement. And you're absolutely right. All the best of luck to the girls. And I genuinely can't wait to celebrate that and then watch them at a World Cup. It'll be amazing.
Absolutely. It'll be amazing.
It's such a fillet for women's rugby in Scotland. Such a fillet for rugby in Scotland because it's fantastic. So no, thank you for mentioning that, Craig. You're absolutely right. So I think if that's us for now, we will dispatch with the Council Telly mob.
I don't know if you really want to be starting calling our followers the Council Telly mob now. Come on now. Our valued fans and watchers are fans. That sounds terrible.
Our valued freeloaders who don't pay their pay. No, I'm joking. I'm joking, guys. Guys, we love you. But yes, we are going to go on to pay TV now. So it has been a pleasure as always. Big thanks to everyone who's joined us tonight. Thank you for all the comments. Cammie's probably going to shoot me now, but that's okay. So I guess it's goodbye from myself and goodbye from Craig.
Goodbye all. Have a great night.